Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness. Alright guys, I was reading through my messages and I got a message here on YouTube from a younger guy. He says he's 17 years old and he is cutting and he's noticing that he's losing his sex drive, he's losing his morning wood, and he's concerned about this. So I really want to address this topic here in a video for you guys. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Okay, this young man is having this issue, and he says he's consuming around 60 grams of fat a day, and he's getting most of his fat from fish, olive oil, nuts, things like that. And this kind of brings me to a point I want to raise that I made in my video the other day, right here, on how to calculate your macronutrient needs. And a point I made about drug-free lifters trying to cut on too low of dietary fat. And the biggest issue you have there is that it can reduce sex hormone production. Cutting in general will reduce testosterone levels. If you are in a caloric deficit, almost regardless of food intake, your testosterone levels will slowly start to decline no matter what you do. It is almost unavoidable. And this is one of the reasons that guys on HRT like me, or guys who are hitting heavy amounts of drugs, have a much easier time doing a prolonged cut. This is one of the reasons. Alright, this guy is on around 60 grams. I don't know his total lean body mass, but that is going to be closer to the low end. It's probably, unless he's carrying a very small amount, that's going to be closer to the 0.4 or even closer to the 0.3 grams per pound of body weight that I pointed out for cutting, rather than the 0.5. And it kind of highlights a point I also made in there, is that if you are cutting near the lower end of that scale, you need to watch for these things. You need to watch for signs of low testosterone, because some people can cut on very, very low dietary fat, but the average person cannot do so without seeing a dramatic drop in their sex hormones over time. And so if you're going to cut on the lower end of that rather than closer to the 0.5 grams per pound of body weight, you need to really pay attention to these things and watch for these signs. And if you start experiencing any of these symptoms, you need to bump your fat up. And if it happens after that, you probably need to take a diet break, which is something I've outlined in other videos, so that you can get your hormone levels back online, because you do not want to be cutting with low testosterone levels. Trust me on this. Not only is it not conducive to your mental health and your sex life, it's not conducive to holding on to your muscle mass. Now, another thing to look at also is the source of fats. Since you're going to be running less fat oftentimes on a cut, and you are concerned with hormone levels, for most guys I would like to see a heavier focus on the fats that boost testosterone levels the most. You don't need to be eating olive oil and shit like that when you are cutting as a male and you're in a caloric deficit. You need to have a heavier focus on things like saturated fat. I would much rather see guys getting their fat from things like eggs, red meat, dairy for most of their fat, rather than things like peanut butter and olive oil. And I know a lot of you guys are talking about healthy fats and things, but this is a really misunderstood subject. I've done other videos on it. Look it up. Saturated fat is not going to have any impact whatsoever on your cholesterol in a caloric deficit. In fact, what you're going to find is that when you are in a caloric deficit and losing weight on a cut, your total cholesterol is going to go down no matter what the hell you eat. It is not going to go up. It is going to reduce for 99% of the population. So this doesn't need to be a concern. Your health markers are going to get better anyways. And I don't really want to get into a spiel upon the exaggerated nature of the cardiovascular risk of this, but needless to say, when you are cutting, if you're at all concerned with hormone levels, or you're trying to run a moderately low fat cut, you need to put a heavy focus on getting your fats from these sources rather than from things like nuts and olive oil that do not have as much of a positive impact on your sex hormones. And so that would be my advice for this situation, and that's my advice to this young man, is to take these things into consideration, to reassess fat intake, possibly bump it, get more fat from saturated fat sources than from these polyunsaturated and monounsaturated, and possibly consider taking a diet break until his hormone levels stabilize again. Alright guys, that's all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative. And I'm going to make probably another video too for you guys today. So I'll talk to you next time.